For some reason, this thing does a very terrible job of being able to make thumbnails. I want to see what the thumbnail is going to end up being on that one. But good morning. I hope everybody's doing very well. This is Travis from Trade with Travis. Hopefully, everybody's doing very well. Hopefully, you end up having a very good green day when it came down to trading. If you're not familiar with what I end up doing, this is a 25-minute session of being able to take a look at some overall trades and being able to see if there's any other trading activity that we can be able to get into going into it this morning. So let's not waste any time. Let's go ahead and jump right into the overall disclaimer and get everything else done. And then after that, we'll go ahead and go from there. Let's see. There we go. All right. So I'm not a CTA, so I'm not going to tell you whether to buy or sell. What I'm going to do is teach you education. And from that education, you can be able to make your own informed decision. I understand that trading involves risk. It involves risk of being able to make money. Also involves risk of being able to lose money. So please keep that in mind. And understand that past performance is not indicative of future results, which means that if you end up making money yesterday, it's not promised that you're going to end up making money today. So with that being said, as we go through and be able to take a look at these overall trading opportunities and everything else like that, super excited to be able to talk to everyone this morning and being able to go from there. Always good to be able to talk to people from the Red Brand, and also very good to be able to talk to people from TradingView and being able to get everything else situated. For the people that are live, I'm going to end up writing hi because I need to see if the system is actually working. There it is. There we go. Perfect. The live stream is actually popping right on up. So we can be able to go from there and be able to go and take a look at it. I'm going to jump in very quickly and start being able to talk about certain things that I have noticed this morning. I got placed in a couple trades earlier with US yen and everything else like that, Skywalker, EA, and a few other things like that. But earlier in our last session last night, I didn't see anything in particular that I was interested in being able to jump into. I was kind of waiting to see how the market was going to end up reacting in the morning time. So let's go through it. Today, what are we seeing? Today is still supposed to be a trader say, meaning that obviously as we go through and kind of decide on what we're going to end up doing, we talked about how the Eurozone was going to end up being one of those pairs that was going to end up being heavily affected by what would happen with the GDP. GDP ended up coming out. It actually ended up being on point when it came down to those numbers. So we will take a look at pairs like EU, EJ, and a few other pairs like that to where Euro, United States dollar, and Euro, Japanese yen as ways of being able to know what's happening with the overall market and kind of see what's going on with those overall pairs. But other than that, I want to see how the market is reacting in general. And then after that, we can kind of get a better feel for what's going on overall when it comes down to this. So there we go. We know that the Eurozone ended up coming out later on today. That's not going to end up being much news. Going into tomorrow can end up being a big day. It's probably going to be the biggest day this week when it comes down to trading activity. We end up having CPIs from the pound. We end up having retail sales from the United States. We end up having CPIs from Canada. And then after that, we end up having unemployment change and the unemployment rate from Australia and being able to see those. So that's going to end up being the biggest day overall when it comes down to trading this week. Just kind of paying attention to those overall movements. Now, with that being said, as we go through, we always take a look at the big three. If you're not familiar with what the big three is, that's the United States dollar index, that's oil, that is gold. The reason why we take a look at those is because they have huge correlations with what's happening with the market overall. By taking a look at those, you get a better chance about how the market is going to end up moving just overall. So interested in being able to see how the market is going to end up going. Now, from a weekly perspective, market ended up breaking the counter trend line break. We end up talking about how this market could be able to move down to 12,970 as a overall move. I felt like the market had to be able to push up just a little bit more just to kind of give a little bit of a retracement before doing anything. And currently right now, that is not the case. So that means that most of the pairs, most of the trading activity that we're going to end up seeing is going to end up having more United States dollar weakness overall. So looking at the Eurozone versus the United States is probably going to end up seeing a huge pop up. I've seen that it was over parity. Hopefully, we end up seeing a little bit more of a move to the top side when it came down to that one overall. And especially like Euro, US Japanese yen, in which I'm actually in right now at this current point. I want to see how that market kind of reacts off of that move as well. So, from a 2-hour perspective, is there anything to be able to do? No, not really. And let me explain why I'm saying no, not really. The market has completed a overall de-extension. It literally completed the de-extension just a second ago at 13,040, which means that typically you will see the market have a little bit of retracement before being able to do anything else. Currently, right now, that is not the case. At this particular point, there has not been a particular U-turn that we have been able to see overall when it comes down to this movement. I am just saying that it's probably best that we just kind of just stay away from it and just kind of go from there, and see how the market's going to end up reacting overall a little bit later on when it comes down to this push. But there's a counter trend line break. The market has broken. It's good to go. All right. There's a counter trend line break. The market has completed a 2-hour D extension. The market could fall all the way down to 12,970. I just think from a risk reward standpoint, I don't think there's a great move to be able to make off of this. Now let's take a look at what's happening on oil. Oil is still in consolidation at this particular point. We end up getting in right around 86. Currently, the market is right around 85. We got into oil last week and the week before that when it came down to trades. And currently, right now, the market proved that it was in consolidation when it rejected off at 93.60. So, with that being said, there's really no trades to be able to take at this particular point in time when it comes down to this one. So, I'm going to stay away, and we'll just kind of see how the market kind of reacts overall when it comes down to that. But oil does not have a particular move that I'll be interested in being able to jump into at this particular point either. Gold at this particular point have a D extension, has a daily D extension to be hit at 1800. I would not be surprised if, based off of how the market is reacting, that it may end up pushing up and actually hitting that point over the course of the last hour. The market has had a bullish engulfing candlestick about 3 hours ago, and I'm pretty sure that's probably based off of GDP. But there's really truly no move as of yet. I want to see how the market kind of reacts a little bit later on today before being able to jump in off of that one. But the market has been way more counter trend line based when it came down to multiple moves since October, and it probably might end up being that same way. Obviously, we know we're leaving typically the consolidated months, and now we're jumping into those months where the market truly ends up having strong pushes based off of counter trend line breaks. And we have a break outside of consolidation. There's a retest right here, but really and truthfully, there's no move to be able to jump into yet. So I'm going to wait on this one as well. We'll see how the market kind of reacts based off of this past resistance turning into future support from this consolidation move, and then seeing if the market's going to end up pushing up to the upside. Okay, so there we go with that. Bitcoin. Bitcoin from a overall trading perspective, what is happening from this? Bitcoin is back inside of the market. Ended up making a triangle, which was right here. It broke to the downside, fell all the way down to 15,800, proved that 15,800 was the support that the market ended up basically end up reacting to. That ended up happening on November 13th, well, November 14th. And currently right now, we're back inside, or basically retesting that overall move. So there was a breakout. Currently right now, we're seeing a retest of this overall area, but there's not a true decision on if the market is going to end up breaking to the upside or to the downside based off of this movement. And because it's in the middle of, once again, consolidation, I would not look at being able to jump in until the market truly breaks below 15,800. Once that happens, then after that, you can see the market start to be able to make a big fall down to 14,200, and then after that to 12,660. Now, obviously, for long-term holders, I wish that would not happen. I know that people have been getting in and basically getting gutted when it came down to these overall movements to the downside. But overall, I would like to be overall, if you are a person that is not in and looking at being able to get in for dollar cost averaging at lower points, 15,800 will be one point, 14,210 will be another point, and then after that, 12,660 will be another point from there to see if this thing is going to end up having somewhat of a push back up a little bit later on. So there we go when it comes down to those. Really not much of a push overall when it came down to that, or really not much movement at this particular point. Retail sales is not going to end up pushing what's happening with Bitcoin. So we just got to see what's going to end up happening on Cointelegraph or anything else like that that will end up allowing us to be able to know. XEX Glass could see crypto sectors layoffs accelerate. Just parasitic Forex, they come by trying to rise the prices. Do not dislike the banks. I don't see anything, at least not yet. Don't see anything when it comes down to that yet. All right, so with that being said, let's go ahead and take a look at what's happening with Euro United States dollar. Talked about how this one could have a potential opportunity of being able to push up to the upside. Yesterday, we did not set up a trade, and I'm kind of upset about not setting up a trade because the market ended up showing a vortex area clearly when it came down to this overall push. I need to take a look at this on my trading account. Definitely need to look at this. Okay, let's talk about it just from an overall movement perspective. What is happening? From an Ikimoku cloud perspective, the market is truly bullish, right? Obviously, we're seeing this from an overall standpoint of where the market could potentially go. It broke, once it broke the low volume node the high volume node of 1.0084, then after that, it just skyrocketed up and being able to push past that 1.03 area. Now, the question is, where is it going to end up going overall from here? It has already fulfilled this overall gap to the upside, so it may end up having a little bit of hesitation right there. But once it ends up breaking past 1.0460, then it has another gap that you can be able to make a little bit of a push off of all the way up to 1.0515. And that's from an hourly perspective. Obviously, we have just met it. I wish I would have paid attention to this earlier. If we would have took a look at the overall move at 102, that would have been a larger push when it came down to that overall area. Unfortunately, ended up missing out on that one, but there will be better opportunities when it comes down to that. Obviously, we've been looking at United States dollar weakness, and we end up saying that the Eurozone, the pound, and the Japanese yen were the pairs that you wanted to be able to take advantage of when it came down to that push. Currently, right now, I don't see anything off of it for us being able to jump in right now, at least from a volume perspective. There's nothing there that I would be particularly happy about being able to jump into from that standpoint. Now, from a daily perspective, this market is clearly outside of this bearish Ikimoku cloud zone, and we're basically hitting the top of this overall resistance from here. So there's a breakout. More than likely, there will end up being some type of a retest. The question is when that retest is going to end up happening based off the United States dollar getting a little bit stronger. From a hourly standpoint, why do I have this box here? Oh, okay. It was in a push zone. That makes sense. Okay. Yeah. When the market broke 103, it ended up going to the push zone, fell all the way down to 96. That's the last time I took a look at it. Okay, gotcha. So, from a fiat perspective, I want to take a look at this from a daily perspective. What is the next move that may end up happening? Jeez, it literally fell back to the spots that we end up talking about. Okay, and that's what I get for not trading Forex all that much. Okay, so market's already done fell down and end up having two different waves. The second wave is over with at 1.033. I'm looking for the market to be able to have a little bit of a retracement from here. Currently, right now, as we hold, we do not have a fractal high to be able to work off of. And because we do not have a fractal high to be able to work off of, there's really no move to be able to do at this particular point. Now, once the market ends up giving us a fractal high and then after that starting to retrace a little bit, which means that we're taking a look at the sell zone off of this movement. We got 7 to 11 days of overall movement to the downside. If that does happen, then after that, we have a chance of being able to get back in off another push from there. But the second wave of this overall movement ended up closing out actually 2 days ago, but we're starting to see this market start to make a little bit more of a push to the upside overall, based off of the third phase off of a 2-hour movement. So the market only retraced down to the 23.6, which means that if the market keeps on pushing up, it may end up getting a 104.79. 104.79 matches up 104.79. 104.79 matches up with the middle of that consolidation block that ended up happening from that would have been June 10th all the way up to July 4th. So I had a little bit of room to be able to move before actually being able to see a little bit of rejection. But that would be basically the middle portion of the latest high volume node that you could be able to possibly be able to get into. So that is the thing that I'll be paying attention to a little bit more. Currently, at this particular point, there's nothing to be able to do at this point. Yeah, nothing to be able to do at this point. I need to create a. I just gave myself an idea, and I'm going to write this down. I'll talk about it. I'll talk about it a little bit later on once I build out the idea, and kind of be able to go from there. But I think I have an idea that will end up helping out everybody. Okay, cool. So done with that. Let's talk about US yen. We are in US yen at this particular point. And I want to see how the market is kind of reacting based off of that. US yen, we've been paying attention to this one for about 3 weeks now at this particular point. We end up saying that the market, once it ended up breaking below 143, we said that it could really have a huge fall to the downside and really be able to find support at 103.20. 137.60 for those overall movements. I end up pulling up on this chart. There it is right there. From a 2-hour perspective, we end up taking a trade. We end up taking the first trade from 148, 149, and 145, respectively, taking it all the way down to 141.70. We end up saying once it broke that outer trend line, then after that, we end up having a little bit more movement that we could be able to pay attention to overall for being able to trade. Since then, from a 2-hour perspective, the market has broken a counter trend line break. And because it has broken a counter trend line break, then you have a chance of being able to, we have a chance of being able to kind of make a move off of that. Now, the question is, where's it going to end up going? From a 2-hour perspective, 134.31 is the actual area. 134.31. 134.31. I don't see it breaking 134.31 at this point. I think that in order for this market to truly have to truly make a move, it's probably going to end up falling down to 137.60 first. At the least, based off of this push, 136.75 that it could be able to break into. But we're in the middle of this low volume node. There's a big push to be able to make a move off of. I am super excited to be able to see how much this market could potentially end up moving to the downside. Currently, right now, I'm in 2 trades on US yen. End up getting in at 139.35 and 139.34 respectively. And from there also end up getting into Canadian yen at 106.27 when it came down to those movements. We'll talk about that a little bit later on as well, but that ended up making a move based off of the Skywalker EA. Now let's go through US 30, and then after that, let's take a look at what's happening with NAS 100, and then from there we can kind of move into this area. Now, US 30, I end up saying that yesterday there really wasn't that much of a move left off of this one, at least for right now. And the next take profit or next huge position that I would like to be able to get into end up being from 33,800 all the way up to 34,210. Now, we've seen that the market end up falling down into this consolidation block that end up happening in October, just like how October typically moves. You end up having consolidation, then you have a breakout. Then after that, the market started truly making more counter trend line break moves to the upside. So we do know that the market is trending at this particular point. Now, I think that the market is going to end up remaining to be in consolidation because of retail sales and everything else like that for the next day. So it wouldn't surprise me if the market does fall down to 33,400, somewhere around that area, to be able to make a move. So if you are inside of any type of buy trades or anything else like that, I wouldn't see that as probably being the best move at this particular point, because it's in the middle of consolidation. And because it is in the middle of consolidation, it's really not that much of a move to be able to take based off of that, at least right now. But overall, what I will say is that currently right now I'm going to end up waiting, but I do know that if we do take a order a little bit later on, it ended up being right around 33,980 as a overall buy. Or as a overall sell, it'll probably end up being, if it does fall, so somewhere around 33,390. I do not expect for this market to be able to fall. Take a look at this from a daily perspective. You can see that it is in the sell zone, or getting close to the sell zone, but I do not expect for this market to be able to fall, at least not yet. But I could be wrong, and the reason why I could be wrong is because the market has been pushing up for the last 10 or so days. So it is kind of due for a retracement. But that means that the United States dollar is going to end up getting stronger. And unless retail sales are pretty good, then there's still no reason for the market to be able to move. Now, one thing that I will say and will notice about this is that the market is been showing indecision candlesticks for the last couple of days. So that may be a sign of the market being able to turn down to the downside as a overall move. So that may be something to be able to pay attention to. All right, Block, what's going on? Hope everything's going well. I'm about to get out of here in a little bit, but I hope everything's going well with you. Nas 100. Block, you get into US yen. Did you get into you trade cryptocurrency, so never mind. Yeah, never mind. When it comes down to that answer. Bitcoin and everything else like that are showing a little bit more consolidation. Baby, you need to change that shirt. Put it on for me. Yeah, you change that shirt. Yeah, we need to change that shirt, baby. Nas 100. If US 30 is looking like that, then Nas 100 is probably not looking like anything to be able to pay attention to. I will. Give me a second. Market broke above the overall consolidation highs at 11,640. From there, we take a look at it from our perspective. We see that the market is in consolidation. It's pushing up towards the resistance, but it has not broken yet, because we done had about 1, 2, 3, 4. How many hours is that? Because we done had 16 hours of overall bullish movement. There's no way that I'm jumping into this as a buy. There's no way that I'm jumping into this as a buy. This is more than likely going to end up being a strategy forward type of retracement movement to the downside. So it would not surprise me if the market gets up to 11,850, and then after that starts to fall to the downside and kind of push from there. So keep this in mind. I'm not doing anything off of Nas 100 either. So only trades that I'm in at this particular point, from an expert advisor perspective, DAX end up getting placed in. Nas, I have breakout buys placed in. I do not want the breakout buys. I'm going to exit out of my breakout buys. I place it in for breakout sales. If I miss, I am up. Oh, here you go. Here you go, partner. Even though we're still going to have to change that shirt. There you go. Look it up. Oh, there you go. Good. Okay, let me get you with the zipper. Once again, we're still going to change that shirt, but okay. That feel better? Okay, there you go. Styling. Get out of here. Yeah, I don't believe in Nas staying on that push to the upside. I think that there's a better chance of the market falling. So I'm not going to jump into it on that one. US 30, I have a whole bunch of pending sale orders that are about to happen based off of the Vortex strategy, and kind of going from there. I don't see anything off of that. And then after that, taking a look at what's happening with taking a look at what's happening with US yen. US yen is doing a very good job of being able to fall. United States dollar is trying to fight a little bit, but Canadian yen is done to fail already when it came down to that move. So we'll see how those end up playing out when it comes down to that. Like what I end up doing, please make sure that you end up clicking on that boost button. Obviously, that end up helping out with everything we end up doing. For the people on the red brand, make sure that you end up clicking on obviously subscribe and being able to go from there. I do appreciate everybody's time and being able to tap in with me this morning, and we end up going from there. Like always, plan your trade your plan. I see each and every one of y'all in the next video a little bit later on. Take it easy.